I've been doing real estate for about 4 years now, a little over 4 years. I've personally made a lot of mistakes. Early on, I made a lot of mistakes, but I also see people make the same mistakes over and over again. So in this video, I just want to talk about what are the most common mistakes that new agents make. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jesse Lynch. I run multiple real estate teams around the United States, and on this channel and in general, I'm really interested in working with people who want to do things a little bit differently. So if that's you, come hang out for a while, subscribe to the channel, click that bell to get notified so you can see when these videos are coming out. And if it's not you, keep it moving. And if you're interested in working with me, would love to join you. You can go to my website, jesselynch.co. We have a bunch of information on there about the different ways that you can work with us, whether it's on my actual team nationally, whether it's starting an expansion team, or just joining Real Broker. It's all on there. Check it out. The first thing, and I honestly think this is probably the biggest and most common mistake, like the worst mistake you can make, and probably also the most common mistake that people make, is dramatically underestimating the amount of effort it takes to be successful as a real estate agent. Dramatically overestimating the flexibility, right? Oh, the freedom, you have your own time to do your own thing, and just assuming that it's a much easier job than it actually is. I think there's a bunch of people watching, to the extent there's anybody watching, there's gonna be people out there who think, no, I have what it takes. I work hard, I have a job, I work hard at that job. Whatever that job is, however hard you're working at that job, you will have to work harder in real estate. You will have to be more obsessed with real estate to find success in real estate versus whatever job you're doing. Obviously, there are people who do really, really physical work and they're like, well, I probably will do more. I probably do more work or work harder. That's probably true. I think physically it's not that incredibly demanding, but mentally it's extremely demanding, and the amount of hours that you will have to put in, the amount of just sheer attempts and at-bats it's going to take for you to be successful is extremely high, and a bunch of other things that come along with that. And just the sheer number of at-bats that it takes to get good at real estate, because real estate has so many different facets. You have to be pretty good, maybe not expert level, but pretty good at a lot of different things, from personal relationships and talking with strangers, or also talking with people that you've known for a really long time, but then also just technical minutia of running comps, scheduling, routing, marketing a home for sale. All of those things are just little things that you have to get good at, and it takes many, many attempts, which I think that is a pretty good segue into the second biggest mistake that I think is, again, probably second most common mistake, which is that people don't know what the real job is. The first job in real estate, and I've said this on this channel before, is getting clients, is finding people who want you to do your job for them. If you don't have a client, you don't have a job. So until you have a client, the job is getting a client. Once you have a client, then the job becomes helping that client and getting more clients. So you start to have to juggle a little bit more every single time. And I think that leads nicely into the next part, which is a lot of people, maybe they're pretty good at lead generation, but they lack the persistence, they lack the follow through, the follow up. And if you think about consistency and persistence as two different things, which they are, consistency just means doing the same thing over and over again, with a high level of frequency. And persistence means doing those things far off into the future for a long time. And so a lot of agents start and they're not used to the consistency. They're not used to just showing up every single day and putting in a lot of work over and over again with maybe very little results. And so that's basically the first dial that you have to crank up, right? Just get that consistency at a really high level, higher than probably anything you've ever done before. And then now once you've done that for a long time, let's say 6 months, to a year, something like that, and you've been consistent, then as long as you continue that consistency, then the difficult thing will be the persistence. How long can I continue on before I see, massive improvements? Can I do this into the future? And I tend to believe that persistence is one of the biggest definers of who will stay in real estate, because it's probably one of the hardest things to do. Checking this place out, by the way, for a client who's out of town. Everything's looking good. But it makes me think of that old, cartoon of a prospector who is, digging for gold. He's at, toward the end of the cave, and it shows that just on the other side of where he's dug to is where all the gold is. And I think that's like a really common sentiment, or I always get that impression when people, stop in 6 months or a year, right? Maybe they haven't seen quite the traction that they want to get, and they stop. And I always think, if you were being consistent in that time, you were right there. You almost for sure were right at the precipice of where things would start to pick up. By the way, I think the next point is often directly related to the last two we just talked about, which is, I think it's really common that somebody comes into real estate and just has too many irons in the fire. They're doing too many things, and it's really hard for them to focus specifically on real estate. And on this channel, you're gonna hear me say over and over again that if you're in real estate, if you're licensed, this is gonna be one of the best opportunities that you will ever be faced with. So if you can focus on it for an extended period of time, it should be the main priority. So if you've got 3 different part-time jobs or a bunch of different gigs and a bunch of different ways to make money, I think you're gonna be spread way too thin. And if you're at all public about all those gigs and different jobs that you're doing, I think people are gonna see that you're inconsistent, and they're gonna have a hard time trusting that you're gonna do a good job with them for real estate. And I'm not saying you can't have another job. I'm not saying you can't even have a full-time job. I've talked on this channel about when to quit your job when you're coming over to real estate. So that's not the point. But I'm saying, if you're gonna start real estate, make sure that you have time to devote to real estate. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of time. If you have a full-time job, you now have another full-time job, which is doing real estate. So plan to do a lot of real estate, no matter what, and then stick to that plan. And which leads into the next the next mistake that so many people make, which is coming into the real estate industry with literally no plan at all. I hope that if you are not licensed yet and you're watching this channel, this is starting to help you get a plan for how you're going to run your business, because it is a business, and you are going to need to know, how are you going to help clients? If you have a part-time job or a full-time job, how are you going to make that work? And some people maybe just have I'm going to make it work. Well, that's cool. Even if you have that sort of thing in you where you're like, I don't care how, I'm going to make it work, I think you still will ultimately have to say, this is going to be the method I'm going to use to get clients over and over again. I don't mean that you have to have a total roadmap of 100% of what you're going to do before you are even licensed, right? But in the first 30 days, you have to have a plan, and you have to be able to stick to that plan without wavering too dramatically. That's a thing. There's shiny object syndrome all over the real estate industry. People tell you, oh, here's another way that you can do it. Here's another way. Here's another way. And people jump from method to method. They jump from lead generation technique to lead generation technique. And then what happens is you never get good at any of those things. So find a plan, find a lane, find a niche, and just hit that. I think one kind of sneaky thing that people mess up early on, even agents who ultimately will be successful, this is a mistake you can make early on. So if you're out there thinking like, look, I'm not gonna be one of the screw ups, I'm not gonna be one of the 87% or whatever the hell that number is that don't make it in real estate, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna be successful with it. That's cool, I can appreciate that, but there still are a lot of mistakes to be made early on. And I think one of those is not sort of creating your business as a business, just thinking that you are one real estate agent and you will be one real estate agent, into the future. I think it's really common that when somebody starts to do well, they realize, they sort of take stock and they go, oh shit, I did not plan for things to go this well. You're looking at somebody who really was not totally prepared to scale when the time came to scale. Only got a couple more left. Next one, don't get too big for your britches. Don't think you're gonna be an international realtor who's licensed in 50 states, who has brokerages in 50 states super quickly. If you want to do that eventually, cool, good for you, but you have to start at a reasonable level. Don't think that you're going to start selling $50 million mega mansions right off the bat unless you have some unless your parents are very, very wealthy and extremely well connected and you are well loved among their friends. Then that's not going to be how it goes, because you're going to have to build trust in that community. You're going to have to build trust with that buyer or seller profile. So start at something reasonable. We have a bunch of other stuff on this channel about creating an avatar, creating a clientele, basically designing the people that you want to work with, and then how to market based on those things. So I implore you to go down that road, check those things out. But so many people just think that they're gonna hit the scene, be a luxury agent, and just, start to be just the cat's pajamas. Anyway, they think they're gonna be doing, just crazy deals, and just those things are just gonna come flooding in because for some reason, because they make a logo that says something about luxury or something like that. But I really believe that you have to start in a place that is realistic to who you are, to who you know, to who your sphere is, and to the way that you can speak, to the knowledge that you have. So start realistic, don't get too big for your britches. And lastly, so many people come into real estate and they basically start cosplaying as a successful real estate agent. And what I mean is, the biggest mistake is that people, for some reason, when they get licensed in real estate, they stop being genuine. Very, very genuine people on the day-to-day can enter the real estate field and suddenly they lose all their authenticity. And people are too smart for that. Your friends, your sphere, the people that are at all aware of you are too smart, they're too savvy for that. They're gonna see through it. So don't just start cosplaying as a successful realtor. If you just change overnight and all of a sudden you're that stereotype, people are gonna see through it. So be yourself, be authentic, be genuine. And you can continue to get better as a person. You can continue to grow as a human, and you can continue to evolve as a human. And so you don't have to remain a caricature of yourself, right? You can continue to grow. That's okay. But it needs to be an authentic progression. It needs to be like actually how people are in their life, and people will appreciate that. Even if you're different, even if you're atypical from the normal realtor, actually, especially if you're different from the stereotype of the average realtor, people will appreciate that. That is what people want. People want somebody who is like them and not somebody who is like somebody that they've seen on TV or in the media or whatever. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.